Alright guys, welcome back for another video on HAIKYU Fly High, and today we are going to take a look at the kit of Osamu Miya, who will be the next character coming out on Global. Now, I know a lot of people always think of Miya twins as bundled up together. I already created a separate video on this topic specifically, but you definitely can play them separately as well, okay? So even if you have decided to skip Osamu Miya, you can still choose to go for Osamu. That's absolutely fine. But whether or not you want to do that, that's going to be up to you, and I will talk through his kit to help you guys make that decision. Okay, so starting out with his skill 1, his quick attack stat is going to increase by proportion of his set stat. This is really very interesting because in fact Osamu is the only character in this game with both a set ability and also quick spiking ability. Okay, so this is very, very unique. And then at the start of the match, your awareness is going to decrease down to 0, and then for every 1% awareness reduced, you are going to convert that to quick spike power. Now it says up to 100%, but the reality is at the start of match, the only awareness you're going to have on you is going to be the one from your potential. So we are probably only going to be looking at like 25 or 30% awareness. So you should realistically only be expecting around 50 or 60% quick spiking power. Okay, I think it's going to be ridiculously difficult to try to get that to 100%. And then the last bit says at the end of the turn, your awareness is also going to decrease down to 0. Now you might be finding this strange because if he is already converting it down to 0 at the start of the match, why do you still need to reduce it? This is obviously to prevent certain characters such as, for example, SP or Kawa, who can still give huge amount of awareness buff even in the middle of the match. And this obviously also synergizes with Osamu Miya because Osamu Miya requires your awareness to be less than 30% at the start of turn. So therefore, even if you play some other character who can buff up your awareness in the middle of turn, Osamu Miya still be able to force that down to 0 and therefore always eat up the buff from Osamu Miya. So I guess in some sense you could say Osamu Miya is one of the few characters in this game who can be benefited in a weird combo team with both Okawa and also Osamu Miya at the same time. Okay, now moving on to his skill 2. This is going to be a setting ability. So I already said this is very, very interesting because he's the only character with both a spiking and also a set at the same time. Now, obviously, there are other characters who have set as a secondary skill in this game. For example, a lot of the liberals have that, and also in the future, Hanamaki also have that. But there's a big difference between them and also Miya is the fact that all of those other characters, they have like a defensive action such as receive and then set, which is an offensive action. Whereas for Osamu Miya, both of his skills, both the spike and also the set, they're both offensive move, which basically means that if you actually build him with strength and attack technique, they would actually be able to help to basically enlarge your power for both of the set and spike at the same time. Whereas you can't do that for the liberal, for example. If you have the liberal, you either have to choose attack technique or defense technique. You can't have something which can buff up both the receive and also set at the same time. Whereas for Osamu Miya, you can actually do that. So as far as a secondary setter goes, he is probably going to be one of the strongest one in the game purely because he can actually be built in a way where he is able to take advantage of his setting ability as well. Okay, so that's just something for you guys to bear in mind. Now, in terms of skill multiplier itself, because this is not an ultimate attack, it's only going to be pretty low. It's only going to be 150. However, it does say that whenever someone casts a set skill, this can increase by 30% and go all the way up to 210. So if you're actually able to stack this up completely, this can turn into 360, which is actually really, really high, even in comparison to some of the ultimate multiplier. Okay, so this can definitely be very strong. Now, in terms of his skill 3, whenever your player casts set skills, your players with set skills, so that's obviously also include Osamu Miya himself, it's going to increase attack technique and also defense technique. So potentially this can also help to improve your liberals with the setting ability. This can go all the way up to 4 star, and then when Ultimate casts an ultimate himself, his attack technique is going to be increased by 50% of his existing one. So his attack technique can go very, very high as well. Now, when your masterful set, so your setting ability is at least 300% of the set stat, you will also be able to increase your set stat itself, and also you can convert this into ultimate. Now, obviously, in order to get this to be more than 300, one of the easier ways is just wait for, as the match play around, as you cast more set skill, this can eventually be over 300%. However, another easier way to do it is actually just simply to have Osamu Miya built with a lot of high attack technique and also potentially strength as well provided that you are actually able to have some way to crit. Then as a result, what you can also get is to get this 150% more than to be 300, purely because you also have other multiplier buffs, such as from attack technique, etc. Okay, so it doesn't have to solely come from the effect from skill 2. You can also tweak the way you build him to help to reach this early. Now, in terms of his skill 4, this is just an ultimate spike. The multiplier is not actually that high, it's only 255%. However, if your attack technique is more than 40%, you can actually then increase this by another 60%. So this then becomes 315, which is then actually really, really high. And also it becomes unblockable as well. So obviously when you're actually building Osamu Miya, you have to make sure his attack technique can somehow be more than 40%. And in all honesty, that is not that difficult, because if you just take a look at his own skill 3, he's actually already able to increase it by 50% of the existing value. So if we just do a mock simulation, let's say if you build him with attacking techniques main stats on slot 6, that's already 15%. He actually comes with a base 5% attack technique as well. So that in total is already 20%. Let's say if you're able to get completely stack this up, so then that becomes 28%. 28 times 1.5, that's already 42%. So it's actually very, very easy for Osamu Miya to reach more than 40% attack technique, even through his own kit. Okay, so you definitely don't need to worry too much about this. Now, in terms of his skill resonance 2, when he's on the cool, whenever your players cast set skills, your quick attack stats is going to increase. So this kind of turns Osamu Miya into a bit of a passive buffer for your quick spiking characters. For your quick spiking characters. And then also Mia's quick attack stats is going to increase even more as well. Okay, so basically buff up the team a bit and also buff him up self a bit more. And then for skill resonance 4, what's going to happen is your set ability is going to increase down to 300% straight away, and that basically ensures you are able to activate the skill 3 trigger condition straight away as well. And then what's also going to happen is that when he's set, the spiking player's attack technique is going to increase by Osamu Miya's own attack technique. And I have already talked about how Osamu Miya can get very, very high attack technique. So therefore, this can also be a quite significant buff when he's actually setting as well. So essentially, skill resonance 4 turns Osamu Miya into more of your traditional setter, which is, first of all, have very strong set, but also give a lot of buff when he sets as well. So with that being said, should you actually summon for Osamu Miya? Now, Osamu Miya to me is a very, very important member of any quick specialty team. Because pretty much the strongest quick specialty team is either going to be based around the Miya twins or based around the Jazz trio. And in both cases, Osamu Miya is kind of the overlapping character that you're going to need regardless which route you want to go down. And you may even go for like a combination where you play all 5 of them together. That's also absolutely fine. But even if you just to decide go one way or the other, Osamu Miya is kind of the overlapping character, because obviously he pairs very well with Osamu Miya, and then he also pairs very well with Kageyama, because Kageyama actually wants someone who is able to set as many people who are capable of setting as possible on your team. And then obviously also Miya able to set while still performing that role as a spiker just really helps with team building point of view, because you can essentially squeeze 2 roles into only 1 slot. Okay, so that's kind of why if you just want to go for quick specialty team, Osamu Miya is definitely one of the most valuable player in my opinion. Now, the only problem with this is obviously everyone knows that the camel duo is going to come out, who is going to be very, very universal. And I'm going to assume a lot of people who, if you have skipped Osamu Miya, you would either be skipping Osamu Miya as well, or you will only be getting Osamu Miya at the time of Jazz Trio. So that kind of makes the decision a bit simpler, because by the time of the Jazz Trio coming out, Osamu Miya should be more or less around the corner for a rerun banner as well. Therefore, there's no point of you going for Osamu Miya without Osamu Miya for the time being, because if your plan is to only combo him up with a Jazz Trio, then your quick special team won't even be finished by now. So there's no point picking him up, and in those kind of cases, you might as well skip him in order to save some more resources for the camel duo. However, obviously, if you have already picked up Osamu Miya, I'm gonna guess your mind is already kind of made up that you probably do want to pick up the Miya twins. Then in those kind of cases, the decision should be quite simple for you as well. But yeah, so those are gonna be my thoughts on whether or not you want to summon for Osamu Miya. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and remember, just commenting can give you a chance to win the giveaway event. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then check out my video from yesterday.